Hi everyone, let's discuss about CSS Grid. So the CSS Grid layout is a powerful 2D layout system and is used to design web pages, and it allows developers to arrange items in rows and columns, making it ideal for complex layouts. Okay, so first one, it is suitable for 2D layouts. Okay, and best for complex layouts. So how to set up a grid layout? So we can define a grid container using display grid. In case of flexbox, we use display flex, but in case of grid, we need to use display grid to the container, and the child elements of this container automatically becomes grid items. Okay, so for creating rows and columns, what we need to do, we use grid template rows and grid template columns to define rows and columns. Okay, so some key properties for grid. So for the container, we use grid template columns that specifies the number and size of columns. For example, this property grid template columns, its value is 100 pixel, 200 pixel, 1 fr. 1 fr means fraction. Okay, so 100 pixel, this first one, it will create first column of 100 pixel wide, and second one 200 pixel, it will create second column of 200 pixel wide, and third column it fills the remaining space. Okay, so this property grid template columns, it will create 3 columns. Fine, it will create 3 columns. First column is 100 pixel wide, second one is 200 pixel wide, and third column fills the remaining space. Now coming to grid template rows, it specifies the number and size of rows. So it will create 2 rows because there are 2 values in grid template rows property. Okay, so first row is 150 pixel high and second adjust automatically because we have provided auto value. Now we have gap property that defines spacing between the rows and columns. So we have gap 20 pixel, row gap 20 pixel, column gap 10 pixel. Okay, so these are the properties. Okay, so grid auto rows and grid auto columns, that it sets default size for row columns, and justify items and align items. It controls the alignment of items inside their grid area. Okay, so these properties are for the container. Now for the items, we have grid column and grid row. Okay, coming to grid column, it defines which columns an item spans. Okay, so example, grid column 1 by 3, it spans from column 1 to column 3. Similarly, in grid row, it means it will span from row 2 to row 4. Okay, now coming to use cases of grid, it is designed for 2D layouts. Flex is designed for 1D layouts, and grid is designed for 2D layouts, that is row and columns simultaneously. And grid provides more control for laying out items both horizontally and vertically. Example, complex layouts, complex page layouts with rows and columns. Okay, and better for full page layouts having headers, footers, aside, etc. Okay, and for many modern layouts, we use the combination of both flex and grid. Create a div to make the approach more effective. Okay, and inside div, we create some grid items. Okay, so here let's give the class as container. Class equals to grid container. Okay, and this is the parent div, and inside this div we will create another div, a child div, which contains the items, which contains the grid items. Okay, so here, so let's take one. Okay, and let's give class equals to grid item. Okay, similarly we can create another divs also. So now let's create around 6 divs. So we have 6 grid items inside grid container. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So what we have done, we have created a grid container. Okay. So a div with class grid container that serves as a parent element for the grid layout. Okay. So this is the parent element and it holds 6 child elements, each with class grid items. Okay. So now let's create CSS. So firstly we will create it for grid container. Okay. So here we will make it grid. We are going to make it grid. So we need to use display as grid. Okay. So it will define the layout as a grid. So to create columns and rows, what we need to do, we need to use grid template rows and grid template columns. Okay. So firstly we will use grid template columns. Okay. Let's say 100 pixel, 100 pixel, 100 pixel. So what it will do, it will specify 3 columns, each 100 pixels wide. Okay. So it means we have defined 3 equal width columns of 100 pixel each. Now coming to grid template rows. Okay. We will give 100 pixel, 100 pixel. It means we have specified 2 rows, each 100 pixel high. Okay. So what we have done, grid template rows 100 pixel, 100 pixel. What it will do, it will define 2 equal height rows of 100 pixel each. Now we will provide gap also, gap of let's say 10 pixel. Okay. It adds a 10 pixel space between rows and columns. And background color, let's give it let's say light gray for now. Okay. And we will give padding, that's a 10 pixel padding inside the container. Okay. 10 pixel. Okay. So we have done it for the grid container. Let's see how it is looking. Let's run it. Open with live server. So this is how it is looking. So we have made the styling for grid container. Now make it for grid items. Okay. Dot grid item. Okay. So let's specify first background color. Let's give light blue. Okay. Now we will give border to each item. Let's give 1 pixel solid black. Okay. And then give text align center. Okay. So background color, what it will do, it will set the background color of the grid items, and border, it will add a black border around each item. Text align center, it will horizontally centers the text inside the item. Okay. So inside the item we have text 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, these numbers. Okay. It will align them to the center. And also let's give the font size. Let's give 20 pixel. Okay. And line height 100 pixel. Let's say. What line height will do? It vertically centers the text. Okay. Like it matches the row height, that is 100 pixel, and it will center the text vertically within the items. So let's see it, how it is looking. Okay. So it is looking like this. We have created a grid. Let's inspect it. Okay. So these are the grid items. So if we decrease the line height, you can see how it is looking. Okay. So that's why we have given 100 pixel. Okay. So now font size, let's decrease or increase it, how it looks. Okay. You can see how it is looking. We are increasing the font size now. Now it is 35 pixels. And text align center, let's change it. If we are making it end, then items are going to end, left, right, start. Okay, that's why we have created center. That's it's looking good. Okay, background color we can change. Currently it is light blue. We can change it to orange. Okay, border we can change it to, let's say, yellow. Okay, or green we can say. Okay, so now coming to container, we have given display grid because we are making grid layout, and gap, if we want to increase, you can see how it is looking. We have increased the gap. Okay, so gap, it specifies the spacing between the rows and columns. Okay, similarly we can increase the padding. Okay, this is how padding is increased. So padding is the space between the content inside the container and its border. Okay, so this is the example of grid layout.